Dungeon Master has placed you in a dreadfully precarious position.
Dungeon Master and Dwarven Sword Master, hobgoblins, dwarves, elves, and halflings are some of the characters and terms used in this very complicated and controversial game.
You're playing the most phenomenal game ever created.
How's it going, guys? John, the Basic Expert here. I know it's been a while. What are you guys doing? I've been doing streams, but I haven't made a video in quite a while. And mostly, I've just been kind of busy. Working on Makuhito. I'm working with the printer in Lithuania, where the books are getting printed, and trying to get the files all sorted out. Offset printing is a different process, and I've never done this before, so I'm a little new at everything, so trying to figure out how to make sure all of this works and it's going to be right and correct has been a challenge. So I hope people bear with me with that, but it's sort of consumed everything. And on top of that, I've sort of spent a lot of time working on my Zine as well for that goes to channel supporters and all that kind of stuff. So trying to get a good buffer on that so that I can work on other things like the Conquistador research and New Atomic Punk, and this project that I'm going to be working on with Viktor Gorchev. So lots of things in the works. So I've just been super busy on making YouTube videos. Unfortunately, it's sort of gone to the wayside, but I do want to get back at it. I'm not abandoning the channel at all, but I wanted to talk about something specific today because it just seems to come up, and I've noticed on Twitter, there's a lot of people arguing back and forth about Pulp and all kinds of stuff, who's a good author, who isn't a good author, and I'm not going to get into any of that. But what I do want to get into is sort of the lost art of reading Pulp and applying it to your games, and how I think the hobby has changed from Pulp to this high epic fantasy. Is this good or bad? I don't know. You be the judge. I want to start by, and these are homemade versions of it as well, I want to start by reading from a part of the foreword in the original book 1, Men in Magic, from Zero E, or the Three Little Brown Books, I'm going to call it. It says, Gary has a foreword, and he says, "These rules are strictly fantasy. Those wargamers who lack imagination, those who don't care for Burroughs' Martian adventures where John Carter is groping through black pits, who feel no thrill upon reading Howard's Conan saga, who do not enjoy the DeCamp and Pratt fantasies or Fritz Leiber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, pitting their swords against evil sorceries, will not be likely to find Dungeons and Dragons to their taste. But those whose imaginations know no bounds will find that these rules are the answer to their prayers. With this last bit of advice, we invite you to read and enjoy a world where the fantastic is fact and magic really works." So right from the beginning, and this is like pre-Appendix N, 1974, you're sort of told that you need to be familiar with these famous pulp authors. You need to know who Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser is. You need to know about Edgar Rice Burroughs and the Mars trilogy. A lot of Moorcock is referenced in these books. And if you're not familiar with this stuff, like, sure, you can still run the game. You can still have a good time playing Dungeons and Dragons, especially old school D&D, but you're going to be missing out. And especially if you're playing the Three Little Brown Books, if you're playing Zero E. Why would I say that? Why would I make such a claim? Well, because even within Zero E, and I think what a lot of people don't understand with this, something like John Carter is just plopped straight into the world through random encounter tables. Specifically, in book 3, this one here, that is the Underworld, Wilderness Adventures, the Underworld and Wilderness Adventures, book 3. When you go to the random encounter tables, and I'll have a screenshot of it on the page here. When you go to the random encounter tables, specifically when you go to them by location or environment, if I could get to it here. Here we go. If we go to desert, it literally says desert and in parentheses Mars. And when you read it, you have nomads, dervishes, nomads, a lord, a wizard, nomads, then red Martians, Tharks, black Martians, yellow Martians, Tharks, and white Martians. So right from there, the desert is explicitly John Carter from Mars land in your Zero E games. It's just John Carter is just plopped right into the middle of there. And if you don't know what a black Martian is or what a red Martian is, who they look, what they are, who they look, what they look like, their culture, anything like that, you can make it up, but that doesn't deny, that doesn't refute the fact that Gary and Dave Arneson, when they are putting these little booklets together, are explicitly referencing something. There's a lot of vagaries in these books. There's lots of vagaries in Zero E, but its usage as a pulp simulator, essentially, a pulp recreator at the table, is explicit. It's right there on the first page in the foreword by Gary, and it's within the random encounter tables. Deserts in Zero E are actually just Mars. And there's lots of things that people might not realize that are in these as well. When you look in book 2, for instance, when you look in the monster section, you do have things like androids. I don't know if people really know that with Zero E, but in Zero E, in the monster section, it has extra monsters and it talks about androids. Now, you're not given really any hit die or anything like that. You're not given an armor class. It's kind of up to the referee to determine what those would be. Same with dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are on the random encounter tables, but they're not on the. They don't have specific dinosaurs listed with specific, abilities and hit die and all that kind of stuff. It's again up to the referee. You're given guidelines for picking like dinosaur hit die and how much damage they should do, but other than that, it's sort of left up to the referee. And I think that's cool. I think that's neat. But I think it's kind of lost on a lot of people. Like, people want it to be this sort of super serious thing, and it's really not. Like, I was solo gaming with Zero E, and I was using my Zines that have a lot of solo gaming tools to help you solo game in Zero E. And what I realized was funny, was just thinking about it, is like my characters were traveling through the desert, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't run into any Martians. And then as soon as I got through the deserts without any encounters as my party is traveling, I got to a swamp, and in the swamp I encountered a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I was like, this is so silly, but like, I don't really think about it, and I don't think a lot of people think about it, but it's just this amalgam of so many of these crazy pulp things. I think we want to, and I love J.R.R. Tolkien, but we want to like view Tolkien as the most important influence on D&D. When you read these books and you see the random encounter tables and the sort of world that is implied by the rules, you sort of start to see that it's really weird. It's really it's fun, but it's kind of silly, and it's probably not as serious as what a lot of people try and make it out to be these days as well. I mean, obviously, this was a game that was designed, and it explicitly says so in the rules, designed to be for fun, to do with your friends, and it is just that, where you're traveling through the desert and you might run into some Martians through the desert because the Martians are just Mars. And then as soon as you get out of the desert, like in my case, and you get into the swamps, all of a sudden you're encountering a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's super weird, but it doesn't really feel jarring either. You sort of expect it. And I was on the way to a manor, an estate of a lord who had gone missing. And so it was sort of like this just makes sense. I'm fine with this. There's Tyrannosaurus Rexes. I mean, there's dragons. Why wouldn't there be a T-Rex in the swamp, walking around just chilling there? So I think that the importance of this stuff, the importance of these things, these writers and their ideas are lost today. And I think a lot of people want to sit and pretend like they don't need to read this stuff, and I guess technically you don't. But I think that these things sort of help you inform the rules within something like this. And it definitely helps clarify and fill the gaps. You want to understand how swords with an alignment and ego work, read the Elric saga. You want to understand how alignment works, read any Moorcock story. You want to see what kind of grounded sort of adventures that you're doing. They're not these end of the world things. It's Pulp. I made one of my best performing videos is a video on how it's just Pulp. It's just this. So it's John Carter, it's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. It's these kinds of stories, where they're up against a powerful sorcerer, but the stakes are a lot smaller. It might even just be vengeance, like in the case of Ilmet and Lankamar. So these are just things I want to keep in mind. I want to remind people of. These are great stories, first of all. I don't think you could go wrong reading these. You're going to have a good time reading them, I think, no matter what. They're all fun stories, fun, entertaining stories to read. And you read them and you're like, oh yeah, I could see how this led to this, led to this game. And so, and even within the rules, like I said, the rules imply that like deserts are just Mars, and there's things that are referenced in there that are explicit references to these stories over here. So short video today. I don't know if there'll be another one by the end of the year. I'll try and think of one maybe to do, but I just wanted to get this out there, and hope you guys are out there having fun gaming. I'm going to get back into hopefully doing the Traveler solo games and talking about that, as well as a few other things, getting Muckweasel ready to go, working on the other projects, getting the zine going. If you want to support the channel, you can support right here on YouTube, or you can support on Subscribestar or on the Gilded server. And doing so, you do get access at the $3 tier and above to the PDF of the design that I do every month, and you get the link to get the at-cost printing of the book of that month's issue. You get the at-cost printing. So you just pay for the cost of printing and shipping it to your house for that month's zine if you're interested in that. So if you like the idea of getting a zine, once a month, you can support that way, or you can just buy the zine yourself if you don't want to get it every month. You can want to pick and choose which ones you want, which ones interest you. I totally understand that as well. But I appreciate all the support I get from all of you. It really means a lot. I appreciate your guys' patience with the channel and just how busy things have been, not just because of the holiday season, but with me trying to fulfill the Kickstarter, making sure that the supporters are happy, and just trying to get this stuff going. It means a lot to me. So I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. Tell me what you think down below. Maybe tell me what your favorite Pulp story is, who's your favorite Pulp author. And it can be like a modern author too. Pulp is not dead. There's still people out there writing within the lineage and style of these authors here. It's not gone. You don't have to necessarily read this stuff. There's people trying to resurrect it out there. So tell me what you think. I'd love to hear about it. I'm always looking for new authors and books to read. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.